Welcome in to the Pay Dirt Profile Podcast. We have a mini-sode. We're going to be doing some player profiles and some breakdowns of some of the upcoming 2020 NFL prospects. I'm here with Kyle. The rest of the other guys can't make it with us this time, but if you're listening, you can find us at the Sounder app. You can also find us Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Castbox, Spotify. And if you want to bring us in somewhere else, then let us know. You can find us on all social medias at the Pay Dirt Profile and our Facebook group, the Pay Dirt Profile Podcast. So we're going to be doing some reviews on certain positions, and we'll be back with you as soon as possible to bring you some additional ones. Welcome back. We're here doing a player profile of running back out of Utah, Zack Moss. A senior coming in at 5'9", around 225. Very strong prospect. Had about 235 attempts last year, 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns. What's up, Tony? Say what's up to the fans.
What's up?
28 receptions, close to 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very strong season. Had a couple of injuries over his career at Utah, but a very strong prospect. What are your thoughts about this guy, Kyle?
So, we talked about it in the previous one with Jonathan Taylor, how he shouldn't be rated ahead of Jonathan Taylor, but I do think he's going to land in the top 6 to 8 backs picked in the draft. I watched him in games against Texas, Oregon, BYU, specifically, and watch a highlight tape with all the good stuff. But I think that he really benefited from a multiple scheme in terms of how they ran the ball. They ran it from the gun a little bit. They gave it to him under center. They used some misdirection with him. And I think that you don't end up as a school's all-time leading rusher because you're bad, which he is at Utah. So you start thinking about it. He was a senior. And I think that when I watched him specifically in game highlights, you can tell that he's got a really good understanding of his role, not only as the running back. We look for the
try to find this
as a running back, but in pass protection. You hope a senior will be able to pick it up, and he does a really good job picking up stuff in the pass game. Not a talented, extremely versatile receiver, and he wasn't asked to be, but I think he really excels when they run inside-outside zone. You see him running, he's a one-cut guy.
Right.
He's able to make the one-cut read. He does a really good job reading. He can find his block, and then he's going to hit the hole hard. And he's always falling forward, similar to Jonathan Taylor. And that's what you want to see from a guy who would project to be a first and second down type of back, goal line, short yardage back.
Right.
I don't see him out, running third down routes. He can catch, but he's not.
More swings, flares.
He's a swing and check guy. Yeah. For me, I think as he picks up a block right there, I think that he's going to fit in well with a team that will use him as a change of pace type of guy. And we'll see where that comes, but extremely talented in the inside-outside zone, has a really good feel for that, from what I can tell watching him.
Right. I think, like you said, I think he's a very solid prospect. My comp for him was Jordan Howard. Mine
was Jay.
Okay.
A close one.
Yeah. And so you're looking at two runners who are mostly north and south types of guys. I think Jay Ajayi has more juice than Jordan Howard, though. So, I didn't really see too many broken, long breaking runs from him, which is fine. It's not going to, ruin your evaluation or anything like that. I think his biggest trait is that he is such a hard runner. Like, he is such a hard runner. Like, he is using his off-arm, stiff-arming guys. He keeps his feet moving. He's ducking under tackles. He's hurdling guys. There was a run that he had, and I forget the team that it was, but, he was on the goal line, and he got, chopped down, and it looked like he was going down, and, put his hand down and did some weird kind of pirouette thing and got, 11 yards where he should have been dead to rights for a safety. He is such a hard runner, and I think that is such a good change of pace to have, like you had said. I could really see him fitting in really well with a team like the Chargers, where they have an Austin Eckler, or a team like the Bills, where they want to establish the run, and they have Devin Singletary, who is more of a elusive type of back, and a guy who might be able to be more of a pass catching role. I would love to see him, be a Bills running back and rush for 900 yards and get close to 9 or 10 touchdowns and be a part of a playoff type of team.
Right.
And then whatever happens after 4 years.
I've seen a Marshawn Light type of comp. You can see that. One guy that he reminded me of, and like we talked about last time, I think it may have to do with the scheme, how they're running their zone stuff, but he looks like Todd Gurley at times. Obviously not as athletic, not as fast, but some of the cuts that he makes from under, when he's taking the ball under center,
and more doing of the weaving stuff. Type.
Yeah, weaving. He's gonna hit his outside foot, and he's gonna go. And this is as we watch a -5. But I do think that he excels much more in a zone game.
Right.
I don't know if it was a problem with the O-line at Utah, but they were really not good at power counter gap scheme type of stuff. They're much better at zones.
Which should suit him more though.
Yeah, you would think. But he looked more comfortable in zone schemes. So I don't know if it was just an O-line thing. I haven't watched enough Utah over the last couple seasons with him to say, hey, he's better one way or the other. But I do think that he's better in the zone or seem more comfortable,
right? Which
is definitely possible,
right? I definitely think that he can stand to improve on some of the things that you talked about before. If he's going to be a back who is going to be used on third down, he's definitely going to have to get a more sophisticated route tree. And sometimes you're not asked to do that in your college, so you can't hold that against them.
You're going to watch some of the guys on here, Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins. They're going to actually be lined up outside or in the slot.
Right.
I don't think I ever saw them out there once.
Right.
And it's just not something that they were doing. And we're watching only his clips, so they could have subbed him out for situations like that.
Right. We're watching basically all runs, so
good feel for outside zone here, though.
Yeah.
You're not super slow, but he's not super fast, and he's going to end up being a comparable. Good read there. Comparable, like a Jordan Howard type guy.
Yeah.
Can get the edge when the blocking dictates it.
Right. Like if he's going to be in a situation to play with an offensive line that's a plus O-line, they're not going to put you in situations where you have to make a bunch of guys miss in the backfield, because he has solid feet, but he's not DeAndre Swift.
Right.
Like he's not Edwards-Helaire or Cam Akers, in the backfield.
Right.
Those kind of guys that they can get stopped. He's mostly ducking his head and just breaking the tackle on sure will if he gets stopped in the backfield. That's not going to happen in the NFL quite as much. So you're going to really hope that he gets with a team that's going to have solid run blocking, so that way he can be in a position to have the most success.
What are your thoughts? Maybe Carolina.
I could see that. Like because I'm one of the proponents of, you need to pay running backs. Not all of them, not most of them, but if you have Christian McCaffrey, don't sit here and tell me you're going to let him walk.
Well, especially if you're not ready to win right now.
Yeah.
You don't need to smash him every single carry.
Right.
I get we want to give him the stats, but let him catch some of those passes.
Right.
And take some of the pounding off of him while you're still trying to get good. And Zack Moss is definitely a guy who could do that for him.
Right. Like if you look at like the final seasons of Marshall Faulk when they had Steven Jackson, and how Steven Jackson started coming in and taking a lot of the pounding, but Marshall Faulk was still able to beat you on the edge and still able to beat you in the pass game. Like, that's what you're going to kind of want to see with Zack Moss at Carolina or Zack Moss at, New York. And I think you would like to see him a little bit more with like a McCaffrey than a Barkley, because I think McCaffrey is a great runner. He's a great runner, but I think he can hurt you a little bit more in a passing game than Barkley can.
Yeah.
So if you do that and then you just let McCaffrey be healthy in the playoffs, and then you kind of say, okay, Zack Moss, we're going to give you, instead of 12 carries, we're going to give you 6 carries in these playoff games because we're going to give those to McCaffrey. Like, that's winning football, and you can definitely be successful there. So I think that if you're one of those guys who really likes Zack Moss, you like how hard he runs, you like his contact balance, you like the production, but I think you have to look at all of those positives that he has and say, are there other players who can do that and more? And I think that as long as you are having a reasonable expectation of, this is a back who is a later second, if you're really going to be on the high side, but probably going to fit in as a solid 3rd round pick.
And then it starts to become a need
right
at that point. Do we need a big back, a more of a inside pounder type of back?
Right.
And then you might see him filling in from there.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, if he were to go to a team like, let's say, the Bears, I don't think that he's going to be as strong of a player, because David Montgomery does a lot of the same types of things. If he plays with a team like the Chargers, I could see him having a really strong season, a really strong career.
Basically filling that role that Melvin Gordon
right.
just left. Right, Eckler gets to keep his role basically as slot jet.
Yeah, you don't want to change his at all.
And they did pay him $10 million a year. Or no, $6 million.
No, it was 6.
Like
I think he's getting some stuff up front as far as guarantees,
right.
but
this is a guy who could definitely take the load off of Eckler.
Of course. So, I mean, I think that he's definitely a strong prospect, but I think having a realistic expectation of like a 3rd round guy with a supporting role would be the best case scenario for him. If you're a team who needs a bell cow guy, I don't think that this is a guy that you're going to want to go with. You're talking about a guy who has limitations on 3rd down, potentially. Definitely don't want to sell him short. But then also, he has had a couple of injuries. So, if we're going to try to take a guy who runs really hard every single play and then also give you the ball a lot, I don't think that that's going to be great for his prospects if he does have that injury history. So it's definitely something to think about. When you look at a guy like Chris Carson, runs hard every single play of his life, and then we just saw towards the end of the season, that kind of catch up to him. So we'll see what that looks like in 2020, but we might be looking at a little bit more Rashad Penny next year. I mean, who also got hurt, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, because of those injuries and how hard he runs.
You could also see maybe him in Seattle if the pick was right. They just add another guy that they like that's very similar.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. He's very Carson-ish, not as physical, I don't think, and probably not as fast.
Right.
But if you're going to look for someone in the similar mold,
yeah.
Then he could definitely be there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we mapped out some teams that he could try to get to. I mean, we talked about how he could succeed, and some of the potential drawbacks. I mean, I think that we'll, just like the other ones, we'll have to see where he kind of lands to see what would be a fair projection for him in 2020. But I mean, I think he has a good solid career in front of him. So, I mean, we'll be coming back with more profiles, talking about more running backs. We'll get to wide receivers and other positions in the future. Until then, this is Dante and Kyle, and we're out.